A police officer, the Hertfordshire Police mental health abuser, was recorded stating "let her rot" regarding a vulnerable girl who refused to open the door. The female police officer made a derogatory comment after the 19-year-old, who has a history of mental health challenges, did not open the door when she and 3 colleagues visited. She has been reassigned from frontline responsibilities while Hertfordshire Police investigate her language usage, which they characterise as not reflective of the constabulary's ethos. Attempting to hide the disgusting behaviour from the public and get their officer out of trouble, Hertfordshire Police have refused to name the officer or charge her internally with any level of misconduct. The incident became public when a video of her comment was extensively disseminated on social media, without which the officer would never have been caught, as the officers that heard her statements did not report them to their superiors. A companion of the lady who lodged the initial formal complaint said MailOnline that the officers visited after she called 999, fearing her friend was experiencing a breakdown and was on the verge of suicide. She additionally asserts that following the derogatory comment, the officers departed without conducting the necessary inspections. A friend, who requested anonymity, stated that the youngster was expedited to the hospital the subsequent day after being discovered unconscious in her flat by her social worker, having ingested an overdose of medications. Hertfordshire Police affirmed that their officers were summoned to the residence in Watford in the early hours of April 12. However, they contest that this was in response to an emergency call, asserting it pertained to a court case rather than a welfare check. What's not disputed is that the minute-long doorbell footage, since obtained by MailOnline, shows a female officer knocking at the door at 1:33 a.m. while her male colleagues stand behind her. As the officers grow increasingly frustrated by the lack of a response to the knock, one of them jokes, "She's going to stay in there forever, isn't she?" The female officer, who had gazed down at her mobile phone for a split second, looks back up and tells him "let her rot" before turning away to talk to other colleagues. She said her friend does not remember hearing the police knock and said the officers left without checking with neighbors to see if any of them had access to the flat. The woman said, "My friend lives alone and is only 19 years old and suffers with severe mental health and addiction. I called the police as she sent me some concerning texts and I knew her mental state. Unfortunately, I was away from home, so police was my only option. The officers arrived about an hour and a half later. At this point my friend wasn't in any fit state to even stand, let alone want any help, which is why she didn't answer her door. But the police just left without checking on her. My friend had taken a serious overdose and was admitted to hospital the next day after her addiction worker found her unconscious. When she was out of hospital the following day, she showed me the doorbell footage of the police officers. I couldn't believe it. One of them is heard clearly saying "let her rot" after a colleague made a joke about her staying in the flat forever and not answering the door. I think it's disgusting. She was clearly distressed and had made an attempt on her life. They didn't do their job. As far as I'm aware, they need to lay eyes on someone during a welfare check, which they didn't do. They just left her. What if it was something more serious? It's not even worth thinking about. Reviewing the footage made my friend feel 10 times worse, making her believe that what she thinks about herself is true. It's as if the police basically confirmed it for her to hear. Also, I made the call just after midnight on April 12 and it wasn't until 1:33 a.m. that the police got there. When they did, there was 4 of them, which I think could be quite intimidating. I believe the police have a duty of care which they absolutely failed to abide by in this case. I'm appalled. The woman has suffered mental health and addiction issues most of her life, but the problems have grown worse over the last 3 years, meaning she has been unable to find work. Police have been called to her flat several times in the past and are aware of her struggles, the friend said. She added, "There's a massive misunderstanding about emotionally unstable personality disorder, EUPD, especially within the public service. There'll no doubt be those who have snarky comments and excuse the police, saying they are probably fed up dealing with her. But my friend suffered abuse and a very traumatic childhood and is extremely vulnerable. She needs help and care, not an officer turning to another and saying "let her rot" before leaving without even checking on her."